Well, now we've got Mr. Ikechukwu, who is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst, joins us this morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Well, INEC sounds pretty upbeat, stomping his chest in terms of how they perform. But when they do start collating those results, we'll hear from the agents what they think happened. But so far, you've also been, at least, I don't know if I should say reading the papers, there are different perspectives out there.
Yes.
What do you think in terms of how this election term played out?
Two angles. The credibility of the election in terms of the process and the security aspect. In terms of the process, INEC would not tell us that there were problems. Of course, that would be shooting themselves on the foot. But so far, reports say that the problems were minimal. However, usually, most times, beyond ballot box snatching, rigging takes place after collation between the polling booths and the primary collation centers, or between the primary collation centers and the secondary collation centers, or between the secondary collation centers and the tertiary, the final collation center.
Those are three key areas.
Yes, from the ward to the local government, from the local government perhaps to the zone, if it's a senatorial election, or from the local government to the state.
But in this governorship election,
yes,
how many of those points?
3 points.
Still 3 points.
3 points, yes. From the ward to the local government, from the local government to the state.
But
so
now,
yes, those are the points where rigging usually takes place. That's where you see election result sheets change. The ones that are available at the polling booths now become fake result sheets eventually.
But the process is that they're supposed to paste the results.
Yes.
As soon as the voting is done,
yes,
so that they then move with party agents and observers to collation center.
Absolutely.
So if that were the case,
absolutely, absolutely. At points in time, you find that the rigging parties, or the rigging party, as the case may be, loses or drops any agent that is not in tandem with them along the line. And you know that vehicles are not usually provided by INEC. They are always contracting it out. And so some of these vehicles may not be able to contain all the agents. They may even send them away. They may even use violence to stop them from joining them. I have observed such situations, and we cannot just sing uhuru until we get comprehensive report. But for now, the reports are positive.
You know, I was going to go there because I recall you had been an observer in some of the elections.
Several, yes.
Some of the elections in the country, and perhaps let's take from you. Listening to Prince Shoibi, he's told us that in the 18 local government of Edo State, 10 are already in the state capital, that's Benin City, awaiting 8 more before they can go out, do the collation, and subsequently announce the winner.
Yes.
How does it usually move? Because Chamberlain asked the question about security of these materials that will be coming to the city center, and he has assured us that definitely they are on top of it. Usually, from past experience, how does it happen when it gets overnight and gets to the next day and some are still in transit?
This is the period when rigging takes place. This is the period when you see that manipulations occur, where ordinarily collation ought to have concluded midnight, on or before midnight, but where it has now spilled over into the next day, everybody has to be eagle-eyed, because those who want to manipulate the system, this is the period they manipulate the system. Now,
sorry, the agents, are they allowed to, kind of like an escort those results from point A to point B?
Yes, compulsory, is mandatory. But most times you find that either some of the agents are compromised, they deliberately drop out, or they are forced to drop out, or they cannot even explain where the collation officers are. From the ward point.
Even while you're watching as an agent?
Even while you're watching as an agent, because you may not join them in the same vehicle. And they may take different routes. And by the time they get to perhaps INEC office, they may screen you You want to go in, they may use security forces to stop you from getting in. It happens. I have seen this scenario play out severally. Now, at the point where they collate at the ward units, at the ward centers, there are agents, ward agents. From that ward, there you go to the local government. There will also be local government agents. So the ward agent would hand over to the local government agent. At the local government agent will now, together with the INEC collation officers, will now go to the state collation center. Ordinarily, everybody should move together given the situation. And of course, if we are talking about the process, we question the fact that we ought for now to have stopped discussing these processes, these elaborate processes of election. We ought to have simplified the process. If it has been simplified, technologically speaking, by now, we'll not be discussing movement from one ward to local government and to the states. We ought to by now be talking about electronic voting.
You know, now you're talking about electronic voting. One other key issue that we should also look at, good thing you're a lawyer,
yes,
is the issue of the electronic voting and card reader.
Yes.
Has it been properly incorporated into
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is one of the points I keep insisting on, to point out that INEC is unserious. INEC has not shown seriousness, because as soon as the elections ended May 2015, the first legislation that ought to come out from the National Assembly ought to be this electronic voting legislation. NBA just recently held its elections through electronic voting, and it was seamless. I voted from my bedroom. I just accessed my iPad and voted there. Why should INEC
for this
NBA, yes, that produced Mahmoud's son as the president? We use electronic voting. So what is stopping INEC from catalyzing the legislative process, and the National Assembly too from also carrying up that responsibility of ensuring that we have electronic voting in our laws? For now, it's even more surprising that most of the decisions of the superior courts have relegated card readers, to being subject to voters register. Okay, well, and if it is subject to voters register, why are we still using card reader? That has been decided that it is of no significance.
But it turns out that I think that will be the crucial time. They say in less than an hour, collation will start, and they've got 10 out of 18. They're with the other 8 results from the other polling units. But I see people tweeting here and say, look, wherever you are in it, it will take about 4 hours to get to the city center. So why is it taking that long to get there? But I guess we'll have to wait until that happens.
That official position comes up, yes.
Indeed, but when you were speaking about those processes that needs to be improved upon,
yes,
the area wherein after voting,
yes,
collation, and then they move it down to the center. But by now, we ought to have improved upon it, particularly political parties and their agents.
Yes.
If they haven't improved upon that,
yes, how
are we supposed to get perhaps the requirements to say, look, the challenge is here, then needs to be improved upon it?
That's a very key issue. Like you rightly pointed out, Edo State is not like Bayelsa State or perhaps Rivers State or perhaps Akwa Ibom State. Those states have several strings of water dotting around that may make transportation difficult. And so the question is, what is the reason why it is taking this long? You can only answer the question by looking at the process and agreeing and accepting that it is because of the process that it is taking this long. The process allows for manipulation. It allows for reasons, for excuses not to deliver on time. So if we go to the next stage, which we ought to have gone to, I expected that Edo elections ought to have been conducted based on electronic systems.
But the law hasn't allowed that, does it?
Yes. How long does it take to enact a law? In point of fact, card reader has been with us since they started it in 2015, but it's been tested about from 2014 thereabouts. The question is, why has it not been included in our electoral laws? For today, even card reader is illegal, it's unlawful. The courts have said it.
Is it that it's unlawful or it's not admissible in the courts as part of the election process? Because it's not, we don't vote electronically.
It is, yes, it is both inadmissible and illegal. Why? Because if you use card reader to disenfranchise someone whose name is genuinely inside of the voters register, you've committed an illegality. In fact, an unconstitutional act. Because the Electoral Act clearly says that it is from the voters register that you will determine the person who can vote. So nothing stops us to have gone into electronic voting by now.